Calvin Ridley's somebody that I just traded for, and I'm a little bit nervous about some of the statistics behind his production, right? So I'm just going to jump right on into it, dude. I'm going to list some of the bad things about Calvin Ridley and then list some of the good. So starting with the bad, he's currently the wide receiver 35, man, which is definitely not what you signed up for. We didn't, I mean, we were drafting him in like the second, third, fourth round. I mean, second and third round, to be honest. He's currently the wide receiver 35, so he's hurting you, right? He's not really performing like we thought he could. He's been having a diminishing target share every week, right? So he started week 1, 11 targets, then 8, then 7, then 2. Diminishing first read percentage, meaning is he the first read on each play? What that basically means, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but why that's important is that you want the dudes who are usually the first read on the offense. You want like a 30 to 40% rate. Like that would be ideal. Those are like your true alpha wide receivers. Those are guys that on every hike or on every snap, they're going to get 40% of the time that they are the first read of the play or of the offense. So it's diminishing for him. And lastly, dude, the Jags offense just doesn't look that great. They just look kind of middle of the pack, right? We were expecting them to like propel into like the top 5, right, and be like one of the more or one of the more dominating offenses in the league. Is just not happening, right? So those are the bad, right? Let's talk about some of the good. So the good is that he had 2 drop touchdowns in in week 2 against Kansas City, and then another drop touchdown in week 3 versus Houston. Like very clear, he could have caught it. It would have been a touchdown. His days would have been salvaged from that. He would have got more yardage and obviously the touchdown. You would have been feeling pretty nice, right? So what that means is that he's actually getting red zone looks. So that is a nice, it's a nice signal that tells us, okay, maybe there are greener days ahead, right? Next thing, he's been getting shadow coverage, right? So AJ Terrell shadowed him last week. They also had a safety come over the top most of the time. So their game plan, they didn't want a revenge game, was to take Calvin Ridley out of the game. That's what it seemed like they were doing, and they did it pretty well, other than obviously his wide open touchdown catch. And he also had a defensive pass interference, which would have been like a 50-yard gain. He like stops to go back for the ball. Defender has no idea, bumps into the defender, he gets grabbed. If he would have caught that, that's another 50 yards. It's another 5.5 or 6 fantasy points if you're in PPR. That's a 16-point fantasy day. You're feeling fine with that, even though the target share is low, right? So, lastly, one of the good is that he's still very talented. He's still very fast. He's very shifty. He's getting a lot of looks in the red zone. And yeah, man, I think it's just when teams want to take him out of the game, it seems like the Jags have no problem not force feeding him, which is like good and bad, right? It's bad because we don't, in fantasy, we want our guys to be getting targets because we want them to have the potential to get open. But if they're going away from him in the times that he's double covered, it could mean longer drives. It could mean the offense is more capable. So that's ultimately a good thing, right? Because the less your team has to punt, the more opportunities your players will have to get, catches and to get production. So I do think it's like a net positive at the end of the day. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I think I'm a little bit panicked about him because of the diminishing target share, but I do want to say, like, I'm hoping that's just how things went, right? I'm hoping it's just a little bit of bad luck. He dealt with like dropped issues earlier in his career, which he fixed while he was still with Atlanta. So I don't fucking know, man. Let's just hope that this is just like a very temporary thing. Let's hope that it sorts itself out and that the Jags kind of just get better.